Listeners, in my life, there have been so many moments, in fact, very specific, but there have been moments where there have been I have hit that kind of wall where the stability of a paycheck, it felt like a cage instead of security. Like it has been like a dilemma, but inside out, my heart felt like that this is a cage. This is not just able to give me that freedom or that security. It's not that we stop appreciating what we have built, but it's that something deeper inside us. It starts whispering. What if there's more to it? Welcome back, listeners, to this episode of the BizBlend Podcast with your host, Sana, as always. Now, listeners, today's guest knows that whisper well. After years in the corporate world, he didn't just leave his 9 to 5, he strategically transitioned into life as a solopreneur. From Apple consulting to corporate IT training, he has built a business around continuous learning, automation, and now the power of AI. So, in this episode of BizBlend, we are going to dive into what it really takes to step off the safe path, the mindset shifts, that transition, that mess, that systems that save you, and how technology isn't replacing us, but it is freeing us. So, listeners, let's unpack the art of reinventing your career one smart decision at a time with my incredible guest, Damien Schreurs. So, Damien, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really sorry for butchering up that pronunciation, but welcome to the show. It's really an honor to.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sana. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, Damien, it is a big leap from becoming an employee to solopreneur, but not impulsively. You made the leap not impulsively. You prepared for years. You even volunteered your skills for free, and that is something I think it's going to be definitely a very learning one for all the listeners, specifically who are looking forward for a solopreneuring prospect. So, looking back, was that patience strategic, or was it like an insecurity within you?
I've always been very patient and also, I would say, risk averse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we equate entrepreneurship with risk taking, but I think it's usually calculated risk taking. And I'm more on the side of caution than I would say most people. And yeah, this is why I really went into it step by step. I I really I have an experimentation mindset as well. I really like doing that. And you mentioned the voluntary work. Yeah, so for a few years, I joined a non-profit organization where we were actually doing exchange of um, knowledge and also skills. And so that allowed me to see if I would like providing services on site. And at that point, it was really B2C, so consumer services, and it was IT consulting. And yeah, so that was check mark number one, right? I really enjoyed the job. I like helping people naturally, but also to be able to help people with the technology, with what I'm good at. That was really fulfilling, right? Even though I was not paid, it was very fulfilling.
Hmm. I love that. And I also really, really appreciate because that risk aversions is something that I personally advocate for, because yes, if we talk from a very entrepreneurial perspective, yes, big risks, sometimes they really, really get rewarded, sometimes they do backfire, and that is something, as an entrepreneur, I think we have to sign up for. However, I also think that, especially when it's about solopreneurship or moving to the advanced level of exhibiting and leveraging our skills, our expertise, and then looking at it from a very financial perspective, as a livelihood, I think having that sense, that pragmatic look at, what happens if this doesn't work out? How should I get prepared for it? Like, do I have a runway money off, or maybe do I have a plan B? I think that is something which really, really saves you. It really, really gives you that motivation and that security to go ahead and take risks further.
Mhm. And also, I think there's a lot of people, when they think about entrepreneurship, they think about startups. And having a startup and having a solopreneur business is a totally different things. Startups, usually they get external funding, and then it doesn't really matter that much if it fails or not. It's just the investors will have lost their money, but the startup founders, they will maybe have lost time, but actually they will also gain a lot of experience and wisdom along the way. They will know what doesn't work. Now, when you start a solopreneur business, it's a totally different story, because your family depends on the income, right? And that's why I sometimes you hear the philosophy of burn the boats, right? The Vikings were going to invade England, and they would burn the ships, or they would reuse the wood, and so they were kind of obliged to make it work. I don't have that philosophy. I really don't like that amount of stress. I reflected about that a few days ago. Right, there are different types of stress, and I'm thinking of that because my daughter she's 16 and she's always late with homework and so on. And I reflected on the fact that most of the stress that she's experiencing is totally self-inflicted. And it's already hard. I'm coming back to solopreneurship. It's very hard to be a solopreneur, to run your own business. Just that, right? And if on top of that you put yourself so much pressure that some people maybe strive on that, but personally, and that's why I think if any listener has a kind of inkling of wanting to become an entrepreneur or solopreneur, my best advice is really know yourself, right? Try to understand, how do you operate? Do you operate well under stress or not? What kind of stress? Are you able to set yourself goals and even daily milestones? Right? You mentioned going slowly. So for the listeners, when I transitioned from full-time employment to entrepreneurship, I did it in 2.5 years. And during that time, I was working 70% part-time for my employer. So I still had 70% of my salary, and I had 1.5 days to launch the business, discover the business model, talk with potential customers, and also start providing services. And that for me was really important, because I don't think I would have had the correct mind space
Yeah, I agree.
if I was under so much pressure.
I mean, I couldn't agree enough. I mean, 1,000%, I don't know, like infinite percentage, but this is this really busts a huge misconception. And first of all, thank you so much, Damien, because you really laid a very important distinction between startup and solopreneurship. Um, I think it also busts that misconception that, we have to prove as an entrepreneur to everyone that, we can take huge risks, we can do that. Sometimes it's like driven purely because of those external factors. But I think very important, like it is the by default first step that we have to know ourselves. Do we perform well under pressure? Can we take those huge life-changing decisions under pressure or not? And if I'm not able to take that, it's fine, it's okay. I need some sense of security, a backup plan, because that helps me to be calm and make a decision which I am not going to repent and which is not going to affect my loved ones as well. Because you're right, as a solopreneur, you're also like your family is dependent on your income as well.
Yeah, it's really dependent on at which stage of your life are you, right? If I had started my business when I was 21 or 23, I just out of university, maybe I had a girlfriend, but I was not married, I didn't have children, I didn't have a mortgage, right? So in at that stage in life, maybe I would have been a little bit more adventurous, thinking, knowing that, okay, if it doesn't pan out, I go back to my to my parents. I go live with my parents for a few years, get back on my feet and start over, right? Or find a job or something like that. But I was 40, that was my a life goal of mine. I had said to myself, when I'm 40, I want to have my own business. And so it was 2013. I turned 40 that year. And that's when I started EasyTech. But I started EasyTech and I was still partially employed, right? So I had fulfilled my goal without taking too big of a risk. And on top of that, when you have a family, so I had two daughters. I still have two daughters. And so they were very young. And then we have a mortgage. For people who know a little bit international things, Luxembourg is a very expensive country. It's one of the richest country in the sense that the GDP per person is one of the highest in the world, but also the cost of living is incredibly high. Real estate here is unbelievably high. And so, it makes you think twice about your decisions. And that's why I decided when the criteria that I took to finally leave my corporate job was I wanted to have 18 months of expenses fully covered. Right? So I had in my bank account enough money to help to pay the bills for my family and continue paying the mortgage and stuff like that. So not relying and not needing a salary from my company for 18 months. And I made it work. I think it was 26 months. Or I think it did. Yeah, it took 26 months to finally empty my savings. That for me that was important to be able to continue to contribute. And also I was lucky as well. My wife has a stable job and she's also earning quite a good salary. So it was a lower risk on that front as well.
But still, I mean, you were very, very careful in terms of, having that runway with you, that, for rainy days, I should have savings, I should have that money to, survive at least, because life is unpredictable. Even, if you're taking risks, life is unpredictable. So I really, really, personally, I very, very much admire that practicality. Even though, some skeptics would say, okay, but your wife is earning, she's earning very well, then maybe you could have taken a bigger risk. So that's why I think personally I really, really admire that, David.
Yeah.
So moving on, let's talk about tech, the tech world here, Dean. Like, you have been in this world long enough to see it evolve from the Amiga 500 to now AI, agents and co-pilots and stuff.
Mm.
What's the biggest misconception solopreneurs still have about automation and AI today?
I think the biggest misconception is it's too complicated. It's too difficult to learn. and that you really need to be a tech-minded to be able to use that. Technology as so the way we can use technology today is so much easier, really so much easier today than it was 30 or 40 years ago. When I started with computers, and when I had my first PC, you needed to be almost an IT person to make that work. But nowadays, and with AI, it's even easier in the sense that if you can speak with a human, if you can communicate with another person, you can get a lot out of the AI chatbot that we have today. And and for the automation side, I think it's not so much a technology problem. It's more the fact that I realized that very few people are process-minded. So I think that I realized afterwards about myself that I wonder why is it easier for me to automate versus colleagues or people that I see or friends that I see around me. And I realized I think it's because I think in terms of processes. And if solopreneur, if entrepreneur listeners, right, if you're frustrated and you hear the potential, whether it's AI or non-AI, but about automation, the first thing that you need to learn is simply to document your processes. If you start doing that, you will go in the right direction. And for me, that's the key. I like the analogy of trying to learn how to ride a bike. There are two techniques, right? Technique number one, you give a bike with little wheels to the child. The only thing that the child will learn is to pedal. And as soon as you remove the training wheels, the most important skill that was actually have balance, the child doesn't have it, so it will fall. The child will fall, right? Whereas, I've seen 2-year-olds run a bike without falling, without ever falling, because when they were 1 or 1.5, they were on a bike without pedals, right? There was no pedals and no training wheels, just the steering wheel, and so they learned balance. And once they know how to balance on a bike without the pedals, pedaling is easy. And for automation, it's exactly the same. People think that they need to go to learn Zapier, to learn Make, to learn programming, to try to go and find AI agent platforms. But no, that's the wrong thing. The best thing is start documenting your processes. And once you do that, you will already see, because it will be written down, you will already see opportunities of improvement. And afterwards, you can start deciding, okay, maybe this I could start automating.
That's golden. That's golden. I love that because it may sound as an old school approach, but I swear by it because it really brings that much needed clarity to make, once again, very strategic and very optimize the entire automation thing, because not only you are kind of in that confusion of deciding which tools to use, but also because every tool comes with all the money aspect in there. So you kind of very economically you decide that, okay, this is my process, this particular tool I need, And then maybe there's some kind of tool which can integrate two different aspects of the processes together. So that's a very golden, I think it's one of the golden takeaways from this conversation, especially for all the entrepreneurs and solopreneurs listening to this. Thank you, Damien. And also another aspect, like, if I can connect it, with your journey, like you have run your business solo for 10 years before hiring a VA. That's impressive, but then also it is intense. How do you balance independence with the need to scale and not to burn out? Because that's a very, very difficult kind of, balance, a tightrope to walk.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I think the way it's also, how do we define scaling? How do we define growth? Right. So, and I'm coming back to the startup world versus the solopreneurship world, or what I now like to call it more a lifestyle business versus a startup. Startups need to grow. They need to scale, right? And they have investors, or they can go through rounds of investments to fuel their growth. As a solopreneur, the question is, how much do you need to grow, right? I have set to myself a goal to earn as much money as I earned as an employee. I'm almost there. I'm not fully there. I have enough to cover the expenses, so that's good. But I want one day to be able to earn as much as when I was an employee. And why not more? Because if to get more and to go through the traditional business models of scaling and growing, it will mean starting to have employees, full-time employees.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I know I'm not a good manager. I hate being a manager. I don't like that. So why would I shoot myself in the foot just for the sake of saying that my company is doing 10x the revenue? Also, that's also a big, a big misconception, or something that you see a lot of people talking about revenue and revenue and revenue. But the most important thing in a business, especially in the solopreneur business, is not the revenue, it's the profit, right? So how much money is there left for you as the solopreneur? That's the most important figure. And so if the solopreneur has a very good understanding of what are the current personal expenses or family expenses, that gives you a number of, okay, what's the minimum revenue I should get, and what's a nice revenue value, what's a nice, I will put quote unquote salary, but basically it's what's left of your business that you can allocate to yourself. What would be a great number, right? What would be a great number, but without sacrificing everything else, right? So for me, the way I define success is be able to work whenever I want, wherever I want, with whomever I want, and not worry about money, right? And so the not worry about money, there is no absolute value goal, right? My goal is not to make 1 million euro of revenue or ever $1 million euro of salary, but at which cost, right? At which cost? Is it a health cost, or is it me needing to become something that I would not like and would not enjoy, a life that I would not enjoy. Yeah.
That makes sense. And that hits also because um for founders, we say we want freedom, but sometimes we are the bottleneck. Sometimes it's quite natural to cling to control. That we are the one who used to do this work, and when we are delegating it to someone else who is an expert, who could be an expert on that, we feel like they may not be able to do the same like we uh, used to do. So that is normal, but I think that also becomes a bottleneck. So I think delegation, it's a trust exercise in both systems and people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's I would say, to be honest, it's a weak spot for me. It's a weak. I, so I had a VA for 5 months. I think 6 months. I had a VA who was taking care of a little bit of marketing stuff, and even though I had procedures, written down procedures, I had done training with the person, I had recorded videos. For some reason, after a few months, the output, the quality of the work started to go down, and I've never explained. I don't know why. I don't know why that person started not to care as much, and in the end, the job that I gave the person, I realized wasn't. That's the tragedy. It was not needed anymore. At one point, I realized what I'm doing is just throwing money. So yes, I'm learning to delegate, but I realized that I was delegating something that didn't move the needle in my business.
Yeah.
So I went back to now I just have contractors. So whenever I need something that I don't have the skills, then I will hire out. So it will be an external contractor for a project that will take a certain amount of time. But at the moment, with all the automation that I've put in place, I still don't feel the need. I think it would be nice. It would be nice to have, again, a VA for some of the admin tasks. But at the moment, I realize I cope. I managed to do everything by myself. Yeah.
That is mindful, actually. Great, great. So before we wrap up, Damien, if listeners, they would like to connect with you, and they would also like to explore more of your insights, the work that you are doing, what would be the best way?
Yeah, the best way would be to connect with me on LinkedIn. I guess you will put the link in the show notes. So yeah, and if among you, the listener, you are using a Mac, an Apple computer to run your business, then I'm also a podcast host. I host the Macpreneur podcast, and the goal of Macpreneur is to help solopreneurs like you and me who cannot imagine running their business on anything else than an Apple computer. I help them, everyone, to actually be more save time, save money, so be more efficient, more productive, and also more secure running a business on a Mac. And so if you visit macpreneur.com, you will find everything about the podcast, latest episodes, and it's both an audio podcast, and I have video versions on YouTube as well.
Super, super. So, listeners, I'll have all these links in the show notes. So just go check out Damien's podcast, Macpreneur, and also connect with him, share your thoughts, your feelings, and also feel free to mention your favorite takeaway from this conversation. And if we can, let's see if I can summarize. I think what I loved today about this, like there were many very key takeaways, but the particular thing that I realized that it isn't about quitting our job to chase freedom. It is about designing freedom with intention. And it is easy to romanticize solopreneurship or entrepreneurship, but I believe the truth is it is built on structure, self-awareness, and also smart systems. So whether it's automation, AI, or just learning to trust yourself, listeners, the point isn't to work less, it is to work better. So thank you so much, Damien, for showing us the direction through your journey, through your lived experiences and your insights as well. Thank you so much. This was really, really very, very important one.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant, brilliant. So to all the listeners, until next time, keep blending the business with the human, because that's where the real magic lives. And thank you so much for tuning into BizBlend. And subscribe to us, leave us a review, because that helps the wheels keep going on here at BizBlend. Thank you.